Last week we were blessed with the Pokémon games we all wanted for years, the much fabled remakes of Pokémon Ruby and Sapphire. November is going to see the release of Pokémon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and very little is known about the games, other than the fact that they are remakes of the games from 2002. And while there almost definitely will be new additions, just like we saw in Pokémon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, these games will hopefully stick true to that storyline we saw in the games from 2002. There are so many things that I hope make a return in these games, and here is my list of my top 5 hopes for Pokémon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and I hope you agree with what I have to say. With that being said, this video is 100% opinion based, and if you disagree at all, be mature with leaving a comment telling me why you disagree. There's a lot of stuff I've left off my list, like Pokemon following you and the expansion of multiple regions, as I deem this perhaps asking for too much. We've got what we've always wanted, and I don't want to sound too spoiled asking for seemingly unrealistic stuff like that. Anyways, let's jump into this list. Number 5. The return of Move Tutors and the Battle Frontier, or the Pokemon World Tournament. This is actually a pretty small thing in the grand scheme of things, as most casual players won't even touch Move Tutors, but there's a much larger emphasis on competitive battling nowadays, and something to level the score between people who hack in their Pokemon and those who legitimately breed their Pokemon would be to include Pokemon Move Tutors, just like in Pokemon Black 2 and White 2, so we have access to all kinds of moves to our Pokemon without having to generate them in the 5th generation games and transport them upwards. Unfortunately, it's currently impossible to have moves like Stealth Rock on Swampert or Superpower on Scizor when they're bred natively, which gives legitimate players a huge disadvantage. The return of Move Tutors would be super handy to us. Also, the Battle Frontier and Pokemon World Tournament were hugely popular ways of generating mass amounts of battle points, so we have access to battle items once again, and it would just be a more interesting way of doing so rather than X and Y's bare bones but still pretty fun battle maison, and these features make it onto my list for us competitive battlers. Number 4. The return of contests. Contests are actually a pretty minor thing in the grand scheme of things once again. I don't know how many people this actually appeals to, but I always remember making poker blocks with my friends and competing in contests and spending hours at a time honing my craft and just being the best contest person I could be, and I always thought it was super entertaining. I'm not too sure how many people this idea actually appeals to, but I'd definitely love to see the return of contests, and seeing the return in 3D with customised Pokemon and customised trainers and different scenes they could make, it just sounds amazing in my opinion. Number 3. The return of a lot more legendary Pokemon. This is something I speculated about in a recent video of mine, which you can find on my channel, and I do genuinely believe that we'll be seeing not only 3rd generation legendary Pokemon such as the Latios, Latias, Regirock, all them. I do genuinely think we'll be seeing Johto and Sinnoh legendary Pokemon in these games. It just makes sense to me. In Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver we did see Generation 3 legendary Pokemon such as Latias, Latias, Kyogre, Groudon, Rayquaza in those games, and it just makes sense to me that instead of having to transport them upwards from the 4th generation onto the 5th generation games and then use the Pokemon Transporter through Pokemon Bank to get them onto our 6th generation games, it just makes sense to me that we'd be able to capture them in the 6th generation and not have to worry about all that. I do genuinely think that we will be seeing Ho-Oh, Lugia, Dialga, Palkia, and maybe the legendary beasts in these games. But all I want is just so many legendary encounters, and I do sound a little bit spoiled, but they just make the games, especially the after game, just that tiny little bit more epic. It just gives us more to do in the games, and that's what I'm looking for. Number 2. More Mega Evolutions. Mega Evolution is something that is unconfirmed for Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire so far. In fact, all we know is that it's something that's exclusive to the Kalos region, but it's something that I do see included in these games. I don't see them including it in one Generation 6 game and then taking it out of the next one. What Pokemon to receive Mega Evolutions though is totally undecided by me. We obviously want the 2 starter Pokemon who have yet to receive a Mega Evolution, Sceptile and Swampert, to get one, just in the interest of fairness and balance, and just to see what kind of designs they'd have. The rest of the Pokemon, who knows? Tropius is a popular candidate. Cluster and Minun seem to be popular amongst the community and people who speculate. Who knows what Pokemon will receive a Mega Evolution? Maybe Pokemon from other regions can receive a Mega Evolution. Maybe other starters, like the second generation starters, could receive one. I'm not too sure, that's for Game Freak to decide on, but all I know is that I want more Mega Evolutions in these games. Perhaps Steven Stone can give us the Mega Ring and Mega Stones, and maybe in the after game we can find them if they want to stay true to the actual storyline. As I said, all I want is more Mega Evolutions, because that would be so awesome. Number 1. The return of secret bases, perhaps through the integration of Street Pass. Secret bases are something we haven't seen in such a long time in Pokemon, not since the 3rd generation games, and it's something millions of Pokemon fans are clamouring for with these remakes. There's so much potential of things to integrate with this. Perhaps make it a part of Street Pass instead of the rather lackluster Pokemon system, and make it a little bit like Animal Crossing, where you'll be able to visit the secret bases of random passerbys. Heck, maybe implement a way of visiting your online friends' secret bases. Something I'd personally love is a way of interacting with my subscribers in a way that we've never saw before through secret bases. There's so much room for customization and so much the Game Freak could do, and I'd be so surprised if we don't see the return of secret bases. But nothing is for definite, and stranger things have happened, and this most certainly tops my list of things I want to return in Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. There's so much Game Freak could potentially implement, and I wouldn't be surprised if you guys have many more ideas, as there's stuff I've left off this list, such as character customization and greater online options. Thank you so much for watching this video. As always, 300 likes would be super appreciated for another top 5 videos surrounding Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire this weekend. And feel free to subscribe so you don't miss any more of my Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire top 5 countdown videos or speculation videos. Thank you so much for the support recently, and until next time, peace out.